Anyhow, we are going to be talking about the poodling drama in Furry. It happened once again. Last time I think it happened was around midway through 2023. So if you think about it, you know how the furry wheel of drama works, where you just like spin it and then it lands on whatever it does, and then that's just the one thing people are talking about and arguing about for that 1 week on Twitter. It just so happens that it took a year and a half for it to land on poodling, showing skin while fursuiting at a furry convention, where I guess some rules or mandates, not even really a mandate, or even some people's opinions are that you shouldn't break the magic or not show skin while you're fursuiting and should just suck it up and be a big fluffy animal for everyone else to see. And all sorts of arguments are thrown around about this. And it pretty much results in the same thing, in an uproar on Twitter, and it really resulting in nothing. I've seen this happen 3 times now. At the end of the day, this is as non of an issue as it could possibly ever be. I poodle all the time. You do, Frey, and there's no problem with it. I poo all the time. Me too, Rush. Me too. For prerequisites, for those that don't know, poodling is pretty much the practice of showing any sort of skin when you're wearing a fursuit. This goes for especially if you're partialing and you have your fursuit head on, you're just showing any form of skin outside of that, that's poodling. Or breaking the magic. That's the term that's been used for years now. I feel like as time has gone on, we've become a bit less and less wanting to practice not breaking the magic. There are some people that do still enjoy it, and all the power to them, but it's not one of those practices that you can really force onto others, and that's how this drama of the furry poodling drama tends to happen on, at this point, a yearly to every other year basis. And so it all started with this one tweet of someone highlighting one of the rules or policies at Nordic FuzzCon. I don't know which country Nordic FuzzCon actually is in, but it's a convention that is not a US furry convention. It's overseas, and it's within the European EU sphere of FurCons. The tweet, obviously, that started this reads as follows: "Hey Nordic FuzzCon, not only is this policy dangerous, it is also stupid. There's a reason why this isn't a rule at US cons. Wearing a fursuit can be extremely taxing, breathing and temperature regulation is hard, not to mention the con space was extremely warm last year. Help us make the convention awesome by not ruining the magic. When wearing a full body suit, or a 3/4 suit, or a half suit, please keep your head and costume on in public areas and corridors. Headless zones and other areas exempt from this rule will be marked. Audience members of stage events are also exempted. Something to clarify here, I love NSC and look forward to returning. I'm not looking to stir shit for drama's sake. I'm advocating for the removal of a policy that shouldn't exist. I'd rather someone ruin some magic than ruin their con because they suited too hard." And that's just kind of the point. It's kind of the shared sentiment that a lot of people have here. Ruining the magic, as much as it's a thing that is bound to happen because we're all adults or people outside of our fursuits, we can try to practice the magic, and some people really do, not just for the sake of wanting to maintain a character when out in a convention space or out in public when you're fursuiting, but also because for some people, the character or fursuit that they're putting on is a secret suit. They don't want to be known for who they are outside of the suit, and they don't want that to be like public knowledge. I know some people that go silent suiting and don't want to be known for who they are outside of it, so they use that as a secret suit or an alternative suit to their main character that they have. I face when someone ruins Fursuit Friday. Whoa. As somebody with POTS and other disabling health conditions that require me to poodle or take my head off while full suiting, fuck your magic. And that's absolutely a valid point. You know, not everyone can maintain the magic or wear a fursuit, and a lot of people had concerns about the safety of people doing this, of the rule in place, which sets a narrative of, hey, you shouldn't ruin the magic if you're in suit. If an emergency happens, still keep on your fursuit. It's not necessarily stated here in the rules, and we'll go over why that is because there was something left out here, but this is the narrative that kind of a lot of people go with. Dear event organizers, this is fucking stupid, and I will break the magic when and where I want. Want something different? Pay me as a performer. Otherwise, kindly kick rocks. And that's another sentiment. We are not being paid to show up to a con and to stay in suit. So a lot of times people will take the mindset and approach that like, hey, if you want me to stay in fursuit, pay me like a Disney mascot, and then, you know, I won't break the magic. You know, at the end of the day, everyone shares kind of similar sentiments of like, this rule is either dumb or stupid, or it shouldn't be enforced. It's a danger and safety concern. It's not Disneyland. We're not paid performers. I can take off my head when I want. It's my fursuit. I can do whatever I want with it. And as much as keeping the magic might be something people might want to do, it shouldn't be forced onto others, and trying to regulate it is not necessarily the best approach. And that's why, going on from here, I was curious to see what the actual context of the regulations and rules were. Here we are at Nordic FuzzCon, the website. This con is happening in a month from now. So I want you to remember this video and the context of what we're talking about here when NFC Nordic FuzzCon actually happens. Oh, hey, it's in Sweden. I should visit this con sometime. I've always wanted to visit Sweden. Keep a note of this and keep in mind what happens at NFC. If anyone is going to the con, seeing what is going on Twitter with people talking about it, keep this drama in mind with their regulations. So I went to the rules of conduct page, last updated September 7th, 2024. These rules and conditions apply to all attendees of the convention, which they are rules and conditions, but I would like to argue that potentially the wording and phrasing, and especially with more context given about the fursuiting policy, the whole don't break the magic thing is more of a suggestion than it is an actual rule that is practice. The reason why I say that because here, in the fursuiting category for the rules, the first thing that is stated right here, right above the section of help us make the convention awesome by not ruining the magic, your health matters most. If there is a medical emergency or risk thereof, please remove your fursuit as soon as possible, no matter when or where you are. If needed, contact the Medicurity hotline. And then it's immediately followed up by the help make the convention awesome by not ruining the magic. I understand the phrasing and wording here might be weird with them saying this is a rule. Honestly, the way I see it, and because we've been through this drama so many times and years now, I think this part is more of a suggestion than it is an enforced rule. Because think about it this way. In all the times that this drama has come up time and time again, when has there actually been an enforcement, a case where someone has been said, hey, you're breaking the magic, put your fursuit back on right now? Realistically, has this ever happened? I would like to argue that it probably hasn't. Because if you go out of your way to be like, hey, you're breaking the magic, you kind of look like the asshole for that. I mean, granted, you can do that, but like, you don't know every person's case. That person could be taking off their head because they have a disability or a medical condition, because it's an emergency. You don't know that. Trying to assume that someone is trying to, I guess, break this rule, it's hard to do that. That's why it's hard to enforce that. And if it's enforced to the point where someone is kicked out, that's bad reputation. That is bad rep, and that is going to lead to people not wanting to attend that con in the future. And usually, conventions want you to attend their con. Granted, it shouldn't probably be there if it's not going to be enforced, but I think it's just part of the culture at that point on why people do it. They're treating it like a boot camp lol, don't give up on fursuiting unless you're on the verge of passing out, which has pretty much been most of the arguments that I've seen for people that defend the whole keeping the magic thing. So I ended up doing a video covering the poodling drama. In it, I ended up using the example of someone who actually kind of started the drama again, where they just kind of went on a little bit of a rant on Twitter about like, oh, I'm an old school fursuiter. I've done the whole death walk at Anthrocon, which is in the middle of July, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the hot heat weather. You're fursuiting around for like 3 hours. I've done it in a suit many times. I'm out of shape, I'm fat and old. If I can make it in a full suit through this parade, these young, skinny, in-shape furries can do it as well. It's more of a mentality of like, oh, if I can do it, others can, they should too, which, again, you can have the mentality of that this should be a more practiced thing, but you can't really enforce it onto others. People will choose to do whatever they want with their fursuit, wear it however they like, as long as it's not inappropriate in public at the end of the day. They're just going to enjoy it how they enjoy it. And so in this video, I pretty much covered that whole take that this person had, and then I ended it with a little bit of interesting note. Basically, there was another YouTuber that did a video covering the poodling drama when it happened over 3 years ago from this point in 2023. So it's been 4 to 5 years since the first time, or I guess one of the original times I saw the poodling drama happening. And this video by Kaba Blah Blah is an excellent breakdown of what the truth is when it comes to a lot of critique and controversy and drama within furry, especially on Twitter and social media.
Now, during my audit, I found that people who expressed anti-poodling sentiments generally fell into one of two groups. Group 1, people who didn't care for poodling but were mostly just expressing their personal preferences about it. This group includes statements like, I don't personally like poodling.
This, I feel like, is a lot more of a majority of it. Just personal preference with it.
This group does not include statements like, but nobody should ever tell you how to fursuit. Do what makes you happy. Poodle your heart out. On to group 2. These are people who are making tweets that could be classified as gatekeeping statements. When defining gatekeeping, I looked at a number of factors, in particular, tweets that conveyed things like people should not poodle or should not be allowed to poodle. Poodling is not okay unless this or these specific circumstances.
So keep in mind, it's kind of like that one set of tweets from my previous video that I did on this, where someone expressed their opinions on poodling of like, people should do this, this, and this, or people shouldn't do this, this, and this, in the sense of gatekeeping.
Exist.
Keep in mind, that was one person that was talked about.
You need to stop poodling, and stating or implying that it is the poodler's job to justify their reasons to poodle. Now, for every gatekeeping tweet, I reviewed the original Twitter thread to take into account the full context in which it was written. This also helped me weed out the false positives. For example, some tweets that said things like "stop poodling" turned out to be jokes, memes, playfulness between friends, and in those cases they were not flagged. Of the total 5,007 tweets audited, 265 of them were not related to the furry fandom at all. There is a surprising number of political tweets using the word, and I guess poodling is also a term used by people in Europe, in a context that has nothing to do with furries. It's weird. You can find these in the spreadsheet if you're curious. The audit results were calculated from the remaining tweets that were fandom related. So we've got 4,742 tweets to work with here. And just how many of those were anti-poodling? The results were actually pretty shocking, because I found over 1,000 tweets basically saying that poodling should be banned. Tweets that were so mean, so elitist, so morally reprehensible. I'm just kidding, there were only 28. That's right. Out of the 4,742 tweets, I found that 28 could be classified as gatekeeping tweets, with an additional 67 stating that they simply didn't like poodling as a personal preference.
See what I mean? He had us in the first half. This is usually how I feel like a lot of furry drama ends up happening, compared to the sheer majority who are just sharing the same sentiment, very minute few who might believe in the opposite. And it's not to say that that is the case for every little bit of furry drama out there. Like, truthfully, if this was on the topic of like pup hoods, it would be about a 50-50 graph. At the end of the day, when it comes to this drama more or less happening time and time again, it's usually one specific example or one specific case that I don't think ends up being something that is an IRL consequence, an IRL issue at cons. It's just people expressing their opinions on what should or shouldn't be on the concept of poodling. And why aren't you in uniform? I wish that meme was used. So, with regards to it, the rule is weird, but I don't think at the end of the day it has resulted in realistically anything. And that's where I kind of want to go on to this. A quote retweet that I actually ended up finding of someone's overall experience at NFC with regards to that, I guess, rule. Oh boy, this discourse again. Thread time. As a fursuiter that's mained NFC since 2020, I can vouch for a few things. 1. There's headless lounges everywhere. You'll never be more than a 30-second to 1-minute walk away from a headless lounge, and it's always okay to use them. 2. You won't be penalized for needing to take off your fursuit head while on the con floor when you need to. The rule is worded badly, to be fair, but it's more to target people that take them off wherever instead of going to the lounge when they could have done that anyway. There are tons of more secluded areas around the con floor. The con floor itself spans multiple floors where you can take your head off without being seen. I've done this plenty of times. There's no harm in it, and NFC staff won't collar you for it. That would be inhumane. Lastly, the tweet highlighting the ruining the magic rule is inherently pretty disingenuous. Right above it is a rule saying your health matters most. All in all, NFC is not a fursuiter torture chamber where we're forced to sweat to death to keep the magic intact. I've had nothing but a blast fursuiting there for the consecutive years I've attended, including 2025 soon. Please research this stuff before blindly hating it. And that's exactly it. You know, you just take one little search, you see that the health, it matters most part was kind of omitted or forgotten about in this case, and the drama is just pretty much everyone expressing their concerns about it, that it may or may not even apply at the end of the day. I think realistically, a lot of the concerns that people have are valid, but I don't think there will ever really be an issue where that's the case, where someone is going to shame you for not wearing full suit. And if it is, like, you can tell them no. Just mark my words, come NFC. Unless there is something that does happen, it's not going to be an issue. So that's pretty much a summary of what I wanted to talk about with the poodling drama. I think ultimately we should just put it to rest. Take it off the furry wheel of drama, don't talk about it again. If it's brought up, then just understand everything that's been talked about in years past, especially with the example video from Kaba Blah Blah, where they did the actual breakdown of how many people were in defense of poodling and who weren't, because I think the drama back then was an argument of like furries saying that you shouldn't be allowed to poodle. But ultimately, it ended up being such a minute amount of people that might have opinions of defending poodling or suggestions that it might mean a lot to them, or they might be in favor of not poodling themselves, not trying to put it onto others. That's pretty much TLDR summary of all that drama, and that's what I wanted to cover. And hopefully I did a good job with it.